Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the panel conversation, Leaders of Care, the Role of Women in Community Care. We would like to thank you for joining us. My name is Jimena. I'll be your moderator for today's conversation. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few logistics. Today's conversation will be in Spanish with English interpretation available. I'm going to take a quick moment to say this in English and explain to people how they can activate this feature.
Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Jimena and I will be your moderator for today's conversation. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few logistics. Today's conversation will be in Spanish with English interpretation available. You may enable the interpretation by finding the globe icon at the bottom right of your Zoom screen. If you need support, please let us know in the chat. Y con eso regreso al español. Muchísimas gracias.
And with that, I'm switching back to Spanish now. It's an honor to have the opportunity to moderate today's conversation. Given my educational background in social work and professional experience in the nonprofit sector, I have had the opportunity to witness the impact women have in this field. From the food pantry worker who offers to carry a parent's crying baby while they try to pick the most nutritious options for their families, to the housing advocate breaking stereotypes about people with a voucher for subsidized housing. It is evident that nonprofit and community organizations and the people who employ them are often the first to respond to the needs of an entire community. At the center of this workforce are women, and the roles we play as anchors of the systems of collective care and mutual aid that cultivate the well-being of our children, our seniors, our families, and all those who need support. I am here today representing Alianza Americas, an organization who recognizes the power of community organizations and the importance of investing in organizations led by people who have experienced some of the same systems of oppression as the communities we serve. We are a network of 57 immigrant-led organizations with roots in 18 states across the country. It makes us proud to have a diverse, multi-ethnic, and multicultural membership that is dedicated to a common goal: to create an inclusive, equitable, and sustainable way of life for migrant communities living in the United States and across the Americas. Joining me in this conversation today are three of our member organizations: Centro Romero in Illinois, Copal in Minnesota, and Familias Unidas en Acción in Louisiana. Centro Romero is a community-based organization that serves the refugee immigrant population in the northeast side of Chicago. Their interrelated programs focus on youth learning and leadership, adult education, legal aid, and family services, such as domestic violence prevention, public benefits, and the New Americans Initiative. These are essential services to support the healthy personal and social development of immigrant and refugee communities. Representing Centro Romero today is Jennifer Cano, the director of their public benefits program. Welcome, Jennifer. Joining Centro Romero is Copal, Minnesota, a member-based organization leading social impact initiatives to improve the quality of life for Latin American families. They focus on building collective power, transforming systems, and creating opportunities for a dignified life by demanding the right to healthcare for all, dignity for workers, environmental justice, immigration, and public safety, and a popular democracy. Representing Copal, Minnesota, we have Carolina Ortiz, their Associate Executive Director. Welcome, Carolina. And our third organization is Familias Unidas en Acción. Familias Unidas is based in New Orleans, Louisiana, and was born in 2018 as a result of a growing need for immigrant communities to have equal access to healthcare services, food, education, and housing. They provide safe housing to newly arrived families, advocate for language justice, and a greater investment in Latino students and parents. And they manage a workforce training center and distribute food to hundreds of families. With us today from Familias Unidas is Leticia Casilda, co-founder and executive director of Familias Unidas en Acción. Welcome to all of our panelists. I would like to thank you for all of us for being part of this conversation. As is in the description of the services provided by each of these organizations, it's evident that organizations are among the first to provide essential services to those who need them. For immigrant populations, Families are often fractured by the migration process to another country that forces us to leave our families behind, or by violent policies such as deportation and detention. When left without the system of support that families often represent, immigrants not only turn to neighbors and colleagues for the support, but also to community organizations to fulfill those needs. My first questions for the panelists is the following. In what ways does the community you serve create kin networks of care and mutual aid to meet their needs? And how has this inspired your leadership and commitment to your work? Carolina, if you would like to begin, over to you. Thank you very much. Yes, of course. Thank you, Jimena. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, a group of women, and I have to say, my respect and admiration for all the work that you do. And to answer your question, and also thank you for the explanation that is so properly said, Copan is born in 2018 for similar reasons that you mentioned and from all the other organizations. But it is born in accepting that there are services and needs in the community that we can't refuse, we can't deny, but also provoking conversations and to know why we have these needs, how can we organize, how do we leave this cycle of service? I would like to mention this because as the way that Capal began, it was born out of that, the needs that exist in the community. We would see that there were people that would get together, that wanted to do something because of they were desperate. And this organization runs with the base of Copal because it is born from that immediate service. And what can we do? And this has been something that from the beginning, I've been with the organization ever since it began in 2018. And it has been a part of the great reason why I am so passionate for what I do, because not only it's the giving services, but also provoking and the community to have that opportunity to participate civically and together be able to do and see the changes that we want to see within the communities. Thank you very much, Carolina. Jennifer, over to you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Jennifer Cano, and I'm the Director of the Public Benefits in Centro Romero. Thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation. I'm very happy to be here sharing with you. I'm going to begin by telling you a little bit about my story to be able to answer where all my engagement to Centro comes from. I was born here in the United States, and when I was about a year old, my parents decided to return to Mexico. So I was born, and most of my life I lived in Mexico. 4.5 years ago, I came back. And I think that the fact of being in that uncertainty of not knowing what to do, where to go, where can I obtain services, where can I study, where do I do this and the other, it gave me this double vision and this double understanding. And then this is where I have my commitment with the community. If there's something that can make easier for them in their process, I'm going to do it. And I think that at the end of the day, that is the mission, that was the reason why we created Centro Romero, to care for communities and to facilitate, to make the process easier. How do we do this in Centro? We do it in many ways. We support them in getting those aids that are offered by the government, the legal assistance, having after-school programs for children, so that they're not in the streets, so that they have healthy relationships. And what does this do? It creates a sense of community. And what does community do? They care, they take care. And these same individuals that are helped, that come to our services, they are also spokespersons in the community. And this is how we create this chain of care. Thank you very much, colleagues, for sharing your experiences with us. When we think of care, we typically think in a more personal, individual way. But the work that you describe shows how care can also be institutionalized. And when values of care and mutual aid become, as you described, become the basis of an organization, it can represent a path to foundational change. while a lot of your work involves providing an essential service, such as access to food and housing, you also focus on education, advocacy, and democracy, which brings me to my next question. How is building and investing in the leadership of community as a form of care? And if you could please give examples from your own work, I would really appreciate it. Of course, Jennifer, would you like to go first, or do you want me to go ahead? You can please go ahead. Okay. Well, that's a great question, Jimena. It really, I would like to use myself as an example, but then I'm going to also explain the connection to it. I feel that COPAL, it's Communities Organizing Power and in Action, it's what it is, and this is what I wanted to do. It was something that was due to my own experiences, the fact that my parents migrated to the United States, not having access to healthcare, to a license, all of these things were what motivated me to take action, to do something, whatever it was, but do something. And when we have Copan as a vehicle to be able to do that something, is huge, because now we can really put there our small work, our passion, our motivation to be able to see a change in action. And I would like to mention this, and I say that as an example of, on my side, because it's what I've been able to do. But we do see the Copal team, those that are within, we all have a story to tell, the similar that moves us to take action, that moves us to be with our communities, organizing. And I think that that is something that is extremely valuable. And this is why I think that we've been able to move mountains in such a short period of time, because you can't tell someone that who's suffering, that is going through something, that it's impossible. We're going to make it possible one way and another. We organize and we do make it possible. So with that, we also have the organizing in itself, the power, and those that are within the team. How do we care for each other so that we can care for others? Because if we're not doing okay, it's really hard to go to community and say, yeah, you have to take care of yourself. But if we're not doing well, then it's not going to work. So part of seeing Copal as the vehicle to take action, but also seeing it from the side that everything starts at home. We have to make sure that we care for ourselves, the team, to be able to continue to do the work and not get tired, and that so that it doesn't happen in a different way. These are some of the things that come to mind when I think of this. Thank you very much, Carolina. Over to you, Jennifer. I believe that the more we invest in knowledge and leadership of the community, there will be a more, and not only a more, but better care for this. And with that, I'm only talking about what is care, the one that is cared for, but the one that is caring for. For example, my work last year, at the end of September of 2022, there was a lot of people coming in buses and they were coming to hotels, to shelters. And what was it that happened? There was such a large number of people. Because it's great to say, it was lovely to be able to help this large number of people. On the other side, it was a very large challenge for us, because Centro Romero didn't have and doesn't have the capacity when it comes to staff to be able to cover such a large project. And even so, we did it. The work at Centro wasn't only the same, but on the contrary, it increased. But the work wasn't only at the hotel, but also the flow of work was increased exponentially. Not only did we have our regular work, but we also had more, and also we had to cover for the hotel. So the structure, we didn't have like a fixed structure to say, yeah, you know what, the project, that's okay, I'm gonna keep doing it from A to Z, and that's good. But it was a project we had to start from scratch, and it was done. Even so, we were able to help and we were able to do it. But why is it important to invest? Because it isn't the same to have 2 leaders managing a project that they're becoming crazy with a project, that you have 10 leaders with a group of people each where they can be able to conduct that project in a more organized way with more knowledge, with more leadership, that there is a better management of any project. So I think that in that way, not only are we caring for the community, taking care of those that are coming, but also we are taking care of ourselves. Why? Because the workflow is, it's too much, but as Carolina says, who's taking care of us? We can't help people, we can't help the community if we're not doing well. So I think that is why it's really important to invest in the community and the leadership in our communities. Thank you very much, Jennifer, and also to you, Carolina. Now I would like to focus the next question on the role of women in caring for entire communities. According to a report from the White House, women make up approximately 70% of the nonprofit workforce. We will talk later about the gender disparities that also play out in nonprofit organizations. But first, I'd like to ask, what role do women play in the networks of care you've described? Over to you, Carolina. Yes, of course. Well, I think that women, we play a role that is very important, and oftentimes it's minimized. And in this part, and is seen because when we start to organize in health within Copal or in climate justice, the people that come are mostly women, whether it is because they are the ones that they are caring of the children, health, whether it is because they are the ones that have to care for asthma medicine due to pollution in the city. Oftentimes, I'm trying to think of an example where it isn't the case, actually. But it's difficult to not have a large group of women leaders that are already doing the work. And the bad thing about this, what's sad about this, is that whether it is culture or for multiple reasons, sometimes we don't see that role or we don't see that work that we are doing because it isn't as important, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, it's what is making things move forward. Actually, there is a song from Sylvia Rodriguez called Family, Private Property, and Love. And this song, if you haven't heard it, talks or criticizes the role of what is a family and the role of women. There is a sentence that says, you had a price since yesterday. You were worth 4 fists of the law. You were sitting on the fear of fleeing. And we had also had a conversation of women's group within Copal where we see our history, understanding the history and the role of women and how currently, thanks to the movement we have more opportunities. We're able to see the care and under a different lens. So I stopped a bit on that question, but I think that it's important to also discuss it. Thank you very much. Also, I appreciate the reference to the song. I'm going to have to check it out. Jennifer, over to you. I agree entirely with Carolina in the sense that women are the ones who are in charge of care of the family. So women and community are the ones that the most important speakers are the ones that they're spreading the word and how to obtain the services. The role that is played by women is extremely important, not only in Centro, but also in the community in itself. When we talk about Centro, we represent 90% of our staff. And within the 6 groups, the 6 leaders, 4 of them were women. So the work is being done, and it's incredible. We have charisma, we have courage. They are the ones to connect with the community. We're the ones who are always looking out for the community. And I think that no one knows best the needs of a woman than another woman. And I'm not only talking when it comes to an individual aspect, but also when it comes to family, as I said at the beginning. Because why? Because women are the ones who care for the families. And I'm giving the example like the mom. The woman is family, is warmness. This is the only represent not only the family group in itself, but also in any other group of society. The role that women play is extremely necessary and important. Thank you very much to both of you. As I mentioned previously, women represent 70% of the nonprofit workforce, but our investments in this field is reciprocal. Studies show that on average, women in nonprofits make 66% of the salaries of our male counterparts. This means that for every dollar that a man makes, a woman only makes 66 cents for the same work. And we know that these gaps are even greater for women of color, women with disabilities, and other marginalized groups of women. It is important to address the pay gap in general, but it's especially important to address the pay gap in a field that's responsible for the livelihood of people in complete communities, as you have described. Researchers who have dedicated their careers to understanding how and why the pay gap manifests and what can we do to address it often recommend things like salary transparency, flexible work schedules, paid family leave, and providing development and the opportunities to grow a woman's professional network. Each of our panelists today are in a leadership role at their community organization, which is what I'd like to ask you the following two questions. How were you empowered to become the leader you are today? And how are you paving the path for future female leaders? Carolina, over to you. Thank you, Jimena. Well, that also makes me think on the role that men play, because there are things that are missing, but what is men's role in this conversation? I think about my own experiences and your question on how did I get to this role of being a leader? And it has been thanks to mentors that have been men and that have talked clearly about this gap and all of the conflict that exists with being women. And they've provided me with a space so that I can find my own voice and that I can take those leadership roles. So I think that a part of it is the role of men being able to talk about it, to be able to find support, and that openly we're able to find the fact that we need one another, and knowing that there are gaps that are so important. How can we open these spaces? And also being aware that this is this is something that comes to mind. The other thing, and Jennifer mentioned it, is that oftentimes the expectation is that we care for, that we are sweet, that we are loving. And how can we change and find the courage ourselves to change that mentality and saying, yeah, of course I can be loving, but I can also be a leader. Yeah, of course I can do this, but I'm going to be a leader. So that part is really hard, because oftentimes, and this has happened from them since we're children, they teach us to have certain roles and how to change it, and believing that we can do it, that we are also an example for others, and taking that in our favor, in our control, and being able to be an example and to encourage others. And to finish, it's really hard not to talk about policies. I know that we're all in different states, but for example, if we talk about the cost of care for children, or access, or discrimination, there are multiple aspects and parts that we need to continue working in the policies to be able to open those spaces to women. I do believe that it's a bit complex, but everything is important. And I'm happy that we're talking about this. Thank you very much. Definitely, I agree that sometimes these subjects may seem or felt as they are too big to discuss them. But as you just said, it's very important to start talking about them and about the challenges that our women are facing, not only in their workplace, but also talking about what we do to change these realities. Because the reality is that we are able to develop this reality, we'll be able to change it. And we definitely have that power. Jennifer, over to you. Thank you. How did I become the leader that I am? I think that it's thanks to women that have been close to me. And I'm talking about my mom to my former boss. So they have supported me. They have trusted in me. And this, at the same time, it makes you trust in yourself and believe that you can do more, and thinking that you can, giving you that power, that knowledge, and saying, yeah, you know what, I can give more, I can be more. When we talk about empowerment, sorry, I'm gonna get uncomfortable. When we talk about women's empowerment, I believe that empowerment isn't something that we can go look for. We say, where is it, or where do I find it? I think that women are born empowered. We have that seed within us. Sometimes we need things that are so small so that comes out of us so that we can see it, because it is within us. And how do we do that? Sometimes it's as simple as listening, opening spaces for us, being taken into consideration, that our points of view are taken into consideration, that they give us the opportunity to having decision-making positions. They continue to allow us to continue going up because we know how to do things. Not only can we do them, but we do them properly. So I think that this is how I was able to get to be where I'm currently at. And the way that I opened the path for women, to future women, I think it's in doing the same thing that they did with me and improving it and the way areas that I would have liked that they did with me, improving it and making it the best I can from the position and where I'm at. And I think that also includes fighting for a better salary that allows us to live a quality life. Because if women, we're capable of doing many things, and for this would deserve to be paid in the same way that a man in our position would be paid with their salary. And I completely agree that it has not to do with the role of men, because we have this idea that the man is the provider of the household. But how much is that true currently in our day, when we are also in charge of managing households? We are independent, we are capable. Women, we're no longer in the kitchen doing housework. We also need a salary that allows us to live the same way. We don't need someone who takes care of us. We're capable and we can do things too. So I would like to finish my point with this question to all of the women's leaders, and not only to women, but also men leaders that are, and all of the people from the position where you're at, because I feel that there's always something that you can do from the position that you find yourself in. How much is it real from the position that you're at? Are you fighting for better spaces, for better places for women? How much are you fighting for a dignified salary for women? How much are you? And this is something that we have to analyze. This is a task that has to be done day in, day out. Okay, what is my team missing? Am I really supporting my colleague next to me that said she needed help with this? She told me, listen, I don't know how to do this. Help me with that. Support me with this. Sometimes we wait for the change comes from up top. But actually, there's always something that we can do from the position we're at. The world has changed with small actions. So how much are you doing from where you're at to support women? As a man, how much are you listening to them? And to this, I mean, yeah, I put myself at a meeting with them, and yeah, no, really, how much are analyzing their point of views and are giving the place so that she can have the position of the man and just left, because we're capable to manage positions directions. So I would like to stop here and just leave this pending homework to analyze how much are we helping women that we have next to us, the women that are behind us, the women that are in front of us, those that are around us, so that we have this change. Because the change doesn't only come from women, but also come from men. In this movement, the work it comes from everyone. Thank you. Sorry, I got too excited. No, listen, I really appreciate your passion for the work that you do for gender justice and to social justice. Definitely, I'm very much in agreement that it's all of us responsibilities to promote women's leadership. I would like to give a very warm welcome to Leticia, who is joining us now. Leticia is a co-founder and executive director of Familias Unidas en Acción in New Orleans, Louisiana. Familias Unidas en Acción does a very impactful work for the community that they assist. So I would like to go back and ask some of the questions that I was able to do Carolina and to Jennifer, because I want the audience to learn about the work that Familias Unidas en Acción does and how how is her community creating this networks of support and care, and how does this motivate her to continue this type of work, and how has this inspired her leadership? Welcome, Letty, and the floor is yours. And you're mute. Well, thank you very much. And my apologies, I've had as many issues with technology, one of our weaknesses, but thank you so much for the space. Thank you for creating spaces where we can come and say, here we are part of a change, because we really want to be part of that change. We are part of the change. And the driver of it, as Familias Unidas Acción, being a director of a grassroots organization, it hasn't been easy. It has very complex, because I'm a woman, because I'm an immigrant, because I'm Black. It isn't easy for someone to see you and give you the value as human being that you deserve, because oftentimes the stigma of the color of the skin is still present among us, even in our same communities. However, it hasn't been that barrier, the one that has stopped us. We have said that we continue moving forward, facing it, because we need change for our children, for our young people, that no matter where they are, they'll be able to take that leadership, and that their intelligence can stand out, and they can come to the table and bring that real change for us. Thank you very much, Letty. And I would like to ask the same question that I asked to Carolina and Jennifer, which is centered in how you were able to become the leader that you are today, and how are you paving the road for the future leaders, women leaders? What can I say? I think that it has been very complex and difficult for me, because I've never felt that I'm better than anyone. On the contrary, I think that all of us women have something special to bring to the table. And I can say that my own community has allowed me to be in this position, to be in this leadership, because I have understood that we must open the path for ourselves, so we don't have saviors, that at the end of the day, as a community, we have to fight for what we need. And it's only like bringing what you already have at home and giving it to a community, the care of your family, your children, your partner, because if your neighbor is doing well, you will be doing well. So having that mutual support is a cornerstone, and feeling that empathy, feeling that we can't ignore sometimes when someone is going through a difficult time. There is a word that says that when one weeps, we all weep, and one laughs, we all laugh. And being there for each other, for me, has been basic. Thank you very much, Letty. It's an honor to have you here as part of this panel, and being able to be a witness to your leadership and the work that you've done with Familias Unidas en Acción. So thank you very much for your time today. These were the questions that I had prepared for you, but our audience has sent us a few questions. So I would like to ask some of the first questions that we've received, which is the following. Working with communities that are facing a series of challenges can be difficult at an emotional level. What makes you continue moving ahead when you want to give up? How do you avoid burnout? You want to go ahead, Letty? Well, believe me, the same question says it. There are times when you say, I can't do it anymore. I give up. I don't see things changing, but something happens, something that motivates you, pushes you forward. When you can see, one of the things that motivated me during the pandemic was getting to households where women were there with their children, didn't have anything to eat. When these people told me, I don't know what would have happened with me if you wouldn't have come here, because we had nothing to give to our children. And I say, it's worth it. And taking care of each other. And at that time, maybe it was that mother, but maybe later on it can be me and someone else is going to come. And this is what pushes me ahead every day, that I know that the strength is among us, and that being there for each other is priceless. It's priceless. And we can't we can't think that someone else is going to come do it for us, because at the end of the day, we only have each other. And during these times that we're being seen as those that are coming to damage a country, and it's all the contrary, because here we're coming to build, to giving the best of ourselves. But oftentimes it's not valued. So we start by valuing it ourselves. When someone tells you, wow, it's really worth it. It really worth for you to be there, because I don't know, without you, whatever. During these times of there are many issues with mental health, I have giving that word of support and calling someone, telling them, how are you doing today? And to tell me, well, thank you for calling me, because I wasn't feeling well. But now that I've talked to you, I know that I'm not alone in this situation, that there's a community around me that pushes me forward. And also looking out for each other all the time is very important as well. What a beautiful answer. Thank you, Letty. I would also like to share that we received a beautiful comment that says, excellent panel, continues to move forward until we make it. We can do it. And that's the truth. We can definitely create the change that we want to see in our communities. Carolina, Jennifer, would you like to share how you can manage with the feelings of burnout when work is giving up, when work is too much, or you're overwhelmed? How do you manage that? Yeah, of course. And I completely agree with what Leticia mentioned, that I think that it's really important. But something that I've mentioned previously is, how do we start in our organizations to making sure that we are caring for each other? And my role in the organization, it took me a long time to see myself as a leader or as an example, because I was just going through the motions. I was doing my work, and it wasn't until someone made a comment within my team that I said to myself, it hit me. And I think it goes to the point that Jennifer made. How can we make sure that as women, especially within our workplaces, we are listening to each other, when we're supporting each other? Because sometimes we do need that push to say, yeah, we can do it. We are leaders, we are capable, and how can we do it? So that is also very important. And also the point that Copal is an organization, the membership of grassroots, we have people that have been with us and that are with us and believe in our work, and they are leading the work with us. And I can't give myself the luxury of not doing it. And I think that reminder that we have as a community, we have a community to which we owe a lot, which is the reason why we exist. Looking at my own experiences at home, continue to be affected by many of these things, there are days that are difficult, and you say, no, that's done, I'm in, I'm gonna let it go. But if we don't do it, who's gonna do it? So I think that what pushes me forward is my team, my community, and that spark of hope for a better future. Thank you, Carolina. Jennifer, would you like to answer this question? Yeah, I think that for me, it's always going back to the beginning, going back to the beginning of my story, of how when you feel that everything is closing, that there isn't a light, it makes me think on all those families that they have histories that are stories that are so, how to say it, more painful stories than my own, being able to say, listen, you're on the other side of it, so you got to help in what you can, help in this, help in this other thing. And of course, you can't always do it. This is a fact, because we are not superheroes. We also feel pain, or at least in my case, when I hear a story of a person that is coming in with, is it either I cry or you cry, because I can't. Yeah, I'm not good at listening to stories because you're gonna console me. So I think that it's also important to have those roles, and for people saying, you know what, she's good at doing this, she's good at doing that. And when I feel that, like, you know what, I can't do it anymore, what I do is that this is something personal, then just doing what I love. And I know this is something that we can always do without the work time. When I'm at work, I say, listen, I feel drained and I can't continue ahead. What I personally do is that I say, I take 5 minutes, don't talk to me. I just need to listen to my music, and that's all. And I go back to the beginning and I recharge. During the weekends, I go dancing, I do many things. I do things that I like. And within the role that I'm in, I try that in my team, it isn't all about work. Because it's true that oftentimes this can consume you in mind. And so if but that's a lot of mental tiredness. What can I do? What can I do so that my team disconnects a bit of their computer, that they're able to unplug. So I think that creating dynamics from the position that I'm in and making it so that the work isn't as burdensome and it can be a little bit lighter is the way that I do it. Thank you, colleagues. Yes, rest is essential, especially in these types of work, and more in a capitalist society that makes us feel that if we are not producing, that we are not important, we don't have value. But the reality is that rest is revolutionary. So thank you so much on how you managed to disconnect from work to be able to continue moving forward. So the next question, I chose it because I really admire all of you. And I feel that I can learn, as well as from other people that are joining us in this conversation. I can learn from the lessons that you have had during your trajectory in becoming the leaders that you are today. So the question that I would like to ask is, what is the hardest lesson that you've had learned? That maybe at that moment you didn't see it as a lesson that was going to help you or that was going to benefit you, but at the end of the day, that challenge came to help you in your growth. So Letty, you think that you're thinking about something there. Would you like to share? Well, for me, there have been so many, but I think that one of the things that kept me going for a long time, that froze me or kept me stuck, was having someone tell me that the fact that I didn't have a fluid management of English meant that I couldn't lead. The fact that I had been a police officer in my country meant that I couldn't manage a movement of change, social justice for my community and where I find myself currently, coming from the person that was part of my own community, it was a lesson that you can be sure that was really difficult. It was very frustrating because I felt, and it kept me for a long time in that state of, I can't do it. This is impossible. Even if I saw it and I have that desire to be able to serve, I did it. But seeing directing an organization, all of these things told me, no, that's not possible, because you're going to have too many obstacles on the road and you won't be able to do it. And into this, to be maybe not having a defined migration status in this country, which is very difficult. And it was like, no, you can't do it. But I want to tell you, girls, I want to tell you, women, that no one has the right to tell you that you can't achieve something, that you can't do something. Being able to do something is within you. You have the key. You can hear whatever people can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, you will make the decision, and the steps you take will make the difference. You're not going to be alone. There's always going to be someone next to you that's going to help you move forward. So that, coming from a community that has always made us feel like we are worthless, having them tell you that for someone that you admire, sometimes it's like, wow, so what am I then? I'm just a chess piece that can move whenever you need me. So I just want to say that yeah, everything is possible. Oftentimes the words that hurt you are the ones that determine who you are. Keep that in mind. You have the key to take the steps, and I'm going to leave my comment at that. Thank you, Letty. Carolina, I don't know if you would like to share. And yes, as Leticia said, I think that there are many lessons, and those that still haven't lived yet. But before answering to the question, this makes me think in the importance of working together, especially with the difference of age. I think that oftentimes, and an example that I'm going to give you, and I'm not proud of sharing this, and yes, are life lessons that are not forgotten. But in the work, in my work, I was in a conversation where I saw a man tried in a way to diminish or make a woman feel as less in the team. And I was sitting in that space and I was waiting for the boss to say something, or I was waiting for something to happen. And I wanted to say something and I didn't. And it was after the meeting, she came to me and she told me, listen, you were the only woman at this meeting. Why didn't you say anything? And that hurt, that was really, that made a mark in me. And also the fact that I'm not saying anything. So the boss is here and she's older than me. I didn't say anything, and I invented many excuses, but I take that lesson to say, at this time, we have to have courage. You can't expect that for their title, they're going to say, we have to support each other, because if we don't do it, we will continue to be in the same issue. So this is a lesson that, as I said, I'm ashamed to say it because I remember it and I feel ashamed of it. But these are those lessons that I will never forget, and they motivate me to make sure that we can protect each other, even in things that may not seem as important. They are important to raise. It's important to raise our voices and to continue moving forward and supporting each other. Thank you, colleagues, for sharing these experiences that have been difficult, but that have provided very important lessons. Jennifer, the floor is yours. I think that my lesson is very much related to the one from Leticia, and a point that also was mentioned by Carolina about that sometimes I feel like ourselves are the ones who give ourselves these labels or these limitations or these barriers and say, yeah, you know what, my English isn't very good as someone that was educated here. Or yeah, I studied in this place, I studied in Mexico, or yeah, in comparison to the women in my team, they are older than me and I'm only starting this thing, the other. Sometimes I feel that it's ourselves who are the ones who are giving us something, these barriers. And I think the most important lesson has been that the life itself, because sometimes life takes you through roads that you never imagined and it wasn't planned. But at the end of the day, you realize that something that we have seen as impossible to you, as big to you, you realize that you did it and nothing happened. The world didn't end. You didn't die. On the contrary, you did it and you did it well. So I think the most important lesson is that every time that I start with having these ideas, no, this, the other, and start to doubt myself, you start to get so many ideas in your head, you start to limit yourself. And what Carolina said about age, or maybe my point of view wasn't going to be as good, or maybe what I have to bring to the world would be as good if a man gives it, or if they someone that has been working here for 10 years or 5 years working here. When you realize that you can make a change and you can get to wherever you want to get. So my lesson has been that I can do things and I just need to trust in myself, because we are divine beings. We can do many things, and those limitations, I don't even know where they're coming from, but these thoughts are ours. They're coming in. It's okay. You're capable of doing it, and from what you have. And I also think that we need to stop comparing ourselves. Sometimes we compare ourselves so much with the people that we have next to us, or the one that it makes us stop ourselves. Maybe I should wait for a little bit, or maybe I should wait for the next meeting, or maybe I should wait for the next meeting, or maybe should I wait until my English is perfect, or maybe I should wait until I'm 30, 50, 60, and my voice is notable, that it's taken more into consideration. So I think that's what it's about. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of your answers. We have 8 minutes, so I'm gonna make use of this time to answer one more question, but I promise to the audience that I'm gonna let you go on time. So you work with migrant community, and how do you see the role of women in migration through the borders? And how is it that us women, we can continue supporting them when they get to our organizations? Is there someone who would like to answer this question? I don't want to begin, but well, if you want and you have an idea in mind, please go ahead, Letty. Yeah, I think that we need to analyze what's happened. Generally, it was men who migrated. They would come here to look for the future, and the families were left there. But things have changed, and we must recognize that women have that role of, they are providers, they are heads of household, and have to find ways on how to support their families, how to help here and also back home. And they've had to take effort. And these last few years, Familias Unidas has received a large number of women, mothers that are alone with their children. And what the saddest thing about is that they can't come with all their children, and they leave children over there. So our work is to be able to give that accompaniment, embrace them, give them that security, that even if they came from far, in a way that they disconnected with these roots, that sometimes you don't want to leave what you know, but you're forced to, because there aren't any options. We must recognize that the system is pushing us to look for more options, and we have to be empathetic, being able to be empathetic with what's happening, not judging each other, but holding each other and giving that trust to one another, that the fact that we're women, it means that we will be able to get ahead, that we can get ahead, that we can support one each other, and that we can be at levels that not only you have to go to get rid of the trash, but you can also be a part of that work that we do, which is supporting others in a way that your experience is vital, oftentimes, so that other women that are in difficult situations, that think that there isn't a way out, sometimes we have to break hope back to those that lost it, because there are human beings and we have lost hope, that we believe that there's nothing else to do. So our work there is saying, no, listen, I'm an example that we can do something, because I also went through that road. I've also been there, and if I can do it, you can also do it. So it's not the fact of saying, listen, I'm going to tell you real quickly. Someone told me, what are you worried about? If you're a Black woman, you just need to be quiet and everything's going to be okay. That's not being okay. Hidden under the shadow of someone else is not having a good life. We need to be ourselves. We need to live, and doing everything that we want to do. If we have to sweep, let this be a decision, not that we can't do different things. And I'm going to leave my comment there. Thank you very much, Letty. And I think that with your beautiful words and filled with wisdom, we can start closing this conversation. I would like to thank each and every one of you for your time, sharing your experiences and the lessons that you have acquired during your roles of leadership. I would also like to thank our audience, not only for your questions, but also for giving, and also spending an hour of your time with us. Before we close the event, I would like to invite you to learn more of each of every one of the organizations. I'm going to share the links to the websites on the chat, but also would like to remind you that it's thanks to people such as you in the audience that spaces to share ideas and think of ideas and the larger spaces are possible thanks to you. So thank you very much. And with that, I would like to wish everyone a lovely evening. And thank you again for joining us. We will send a follow-up email with a copy of the recording in English and in Spanish. So please expect this email from our side. Thank you very much to everyone, and thank you to our panelists as well. Thank you very much. Take care and continue. Let's continue the fight. Thank you, Letty.